Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1675A, and today's date is September 27th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Right on Cue, Trump Doesn't Like the Interest Rate Hike, Wink Wink. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about debt and how it affects each and every one of us. And yes, we hear the word debt, but what happens if I told you that you owed $65,318 to the government? Your wife or husband also owed $65,318, and your children, regardless of their age, owed $65,318 too. I can just imagine what your reaction would be. Most likely very angry and say, I'm not going to pay that, no way. But again, you do owe it. Why? Because the reality is the United States is $21.5 trillion in debt. Actually, that is what they're telling us. Most likely, it's a lot more. And we know the U.S. government is continually borrowing. They still haven't paid off the Second World War. Why does this all matter? With the stock market at all-time high and a crash ever more likely, together with increasing inflation, this matters a lot. And it matters because Medicare, Social Security, and all the other props you have been relying on to support you in your senior years just aren't going to be there. America can't afford you anymore. So what can you do? Luckily, there's one alternative which can keep a roof over your head and your health bills and pension paid. There's never been a better time to invest in precious metals so you can be on the safe side and take no chances. Gold is climbing from recent lows, and Noble Gold are ready to talk to you about what you can do to sort out a safety net for you and your family going forward. So check out the link below, because the only person that will protect your wealth is you. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Well, it seems like the president actually confirmed the plan where they are working together to raise the interest rates to bring this entire system down, and we'll go into that in just a bit. But I wanted to talk about the cryptocurrency market right now, because as we know, the central banks, they've been hitting the cryptocurrency market, just like the precious metals market, where they've been throwing a lot of coins at Bitcoin, trying to bring down the price, which they have been doing, to make people move away from the crypto market, to say it's volatile, it's unstable, you shouldn't be investing in it, you shouldn't be using it, you shouldn't even go near it. And we can see that this was the plan. And at the time they were doing this, while the central bank was out there demonizing it, social media platforms like Google, Twitter, Facebook, and the rest, they decided they were going to ban all advertisements about cryptocurrencies. We're not going to have it. You can't sell anything on it, because they were trying to protect everyone from the crypto market. But they still allowed gambling advertisements. That was no problem. They didn't feel they needed to protect people against gambling, losing all their money, losing their life savings. And remember, with gambling, there are people that have addiction problems with it, and they go for counseling. But that's okay. The crypto market is much, much more scarier. Or was this a plan to make everyone believe the crypto market was scary? And that's exactly what this was. Because what we're seeing right now is that, hey, you can now put ads on Google, Facebook, Twitter. There's no problem with it. Why is that? Because what they've done is they've demonized cryptocurrency to the point where they believe the population doesn't believe that cryptocurrency is going to be used as anything. And of course, since that's the case, it's no problem to have advertisements on there now, because it's not a big deal. They believe they accomplished what they set out to do. Or did they? Because once people start to realize what this was all about, people are going to run to precious metals. People are going to run to the crypto market. And it will happen. We see in the United States, pending home sales, they're down by negative 2.5% year on year. This is the biggest drop in 7 months. And the decline was across all 4 regions. We see the new numbers for the second quarter GDP came out, and the estimates are around 4.2%. This is the strongest in 4 years. And of course, as we know, this is completely manipulated to make it look like the economy is doing much, much better than it really is. But we understand the economy. Again, if you're looking at the statistical numbers, yes, the illusion looks great. If we go back to 2008, the illusion was the subprime securities were AAA rated. Everyone believed it. No one ever thought there was a problem, except a few who looked into it and said, wait a minute, these people are defaulting. These subprime securities are not AAA. This is a lie. But again, the general public believed the illusion. The same thing is happening right now. It's very easy to convince a population by throwing out statistical information and telling you if GDP is good, if the stock market is going up, unemployment is low, everything is great. And if the housing prices continually move up, that means the economy is very strong. Well, this is not true, because they told us all this prior to 2008. And what happened in 2008? Everything fell apart. The economy went into a recession. But they tried to make us believe back then that everything was fantastic. Actually, the stock market was hitting all-time highs. Unemployment was very, very low. GDP numbers looked pretty darn good. Housing prices were up there. And then everything started to fall apart. And of course, behind the scenes, nobody realizes how bad the financial institutions were, how bad corporations were, how much money they needed, because if they didn't receive it, they were going to go bankrupt. They would no longer exist today. And we need to understand that we have a major debt problem. More and more people today are not working. And more people don't have that high-paying job. They're working part-time jobs. Wages are decreasing. And what's very interesting, everyone talks about the military budget, how high it is. The Department of Defense spending a lot of money on all these wars, which they are. And a lot of it is the deep state creating these wars in the Middle East. And they are very high. But what's very interesting about this, in about 4 to 5 years, the interest on the debt will be more than the military budget. But nobody talks about that. Nobody says, wait a minute, how much are we paying in interest on this debt? Think about it. It's going to be more than the military budget. That's how bad it's going to be. And this is 4 to 5 years away. We are so close to it right now. And nobody mentions any of this. It's amazing. We see right now the plan is moving forward. Now, Trump came out and he said he was not happy about the Federal Reserve's decision earlier in the day to raise the benchmark interest rates. He added the increase was a result of a strong economy. We're doing great as a country. Unfortunately, they just raised the interest rates because we are doing so well. I'm not happy about that, Trump said. I'd rather pay down the debt, so he knows the debt is way too high, or do other things, create more jobs. And he went on to say, so I'm worried about the fact that they seem to like raising interest rates. And what he's saying right here is Powell is doing exactly what he wants. And this is how the game is played. Now, the mainstream media came out and they asked Powell, what do you think about Trump criticizing the Fed? And Powell just brushed it off like he didn't even care. And we see at this time, the mainstream media, the deep state, they're concerned about this. Why are they concerned about this? Because they know what happens when you raise the interest rates. When we hit a certain point, they understand that the system's going to come down. Now, remember, their plan was to crash the economy and blame it on Trump. They didn't expect Trump and those that are working with him to take the magic wand and pump the economy up to heights that we've never seen before. Yes, it might be fake. It's a gigantic illusion. But it didn't allow the deep state and the mainstream media to point the finger at Trump. Because how do you point the finger when the economy is doing really well? They were going to use the Fed, which they've done in the past, to continually raise the rates to get what they wanted. A disastrous economy, blame it on Trump, and say he is at fault. Well, the tables have been turned. Trump, the Patriots, they have control of the Fed. They're telling everyone that the economy is doing fantastically. And the mainstream media, the deep state, they're kind of stuck right now. Because what do you say? Remember, in the past, they had all this power. They can create events. They can create wars. They can tell everyone the reason why this is happening is because of this event or this war, or they could blame it on Trump or somebody else. the power has been taken away from them, and they're scrambling right now. And we know, just from looking at the interest on the debt, looking at what's going on in this country, looking at how the economy is falling apart very, very quickly, we can see that there's just a certain amount of time before it comes down by itself, and you really don't need anyone to bring it down. But it's better to have a controlled collapse than a free fall collapse. And I think this is what Trump, Powell, and the rest are trying to do, because they need to move us into this transition. And to move us into this transition, you need to get rid of the old system. And you have to make it clear that the old system was destroyed because of what the Fed did. And once this is done, there is no coming back. And once you get rid of the Fed or take it over, the funding to the deep state completely dries up. All these covert operations, yes, they still can do it with drug money and things like that. But a lot of these funds that are coming out of the central banks, which they're not accounted for because we can't see the books, we don't know what's really going on, this is all going to come to an end. And when it does come to an end, it's completely game over. But one thing is for sure, we're going to be going through a transition. And the transition is going to be very difficult for certain people. It's not going to be, snap your fingers, we're on a new system. I mean, think about the 1970s when we came off the gold standard, moving on to the petrodollar system. And if we go back in time, the debt was very, very low. And we were much more stable at that time. And we still had certain hiccups. I mean, unemployment was very high. Interest rates went sky high because it took more dollars to pay for an item. So we saw a huge inflation because we came off the checks and balances. The Fed was able to create more currency. The government was able to borrow a lot more currency. And we're moving from the gold standard, or partial gold standard, onto an oil standard where there were no controls over the Fed. They could do whatever they wanted. And in 2008, it even got worse. But just that little period of time, it was we were a reserve currency of the world, and we were moving to a reserve currency of the world, but onto a different system, and it was very difficult for many, many people. This time around, we're going to be coming off this central bank debt system and moving to a completely different system. And those people who are heavily invested in this debt system, a lot of these people are going to get hurt when we move on to the other system. Yes, we might see high unemployment. Yes, we might see problems in the credit arena. Yes, the market most likely will come down. But to get us off this old system, you need to destroy it. And you need to show the people why we are doing this. And this time around is not going to be like the 70s. Because we're at the end stage now. It's going to be a lot more difficult because we have no manufacturing. Many people are reporting that we have no gold. And for the United States, it's going to be very, very difficult. This is why Trump and the Patriots have been trying to bring back manufacturing to prepare us for what is coming. And it's going to be a difficult time for many people. And this is why you need to be prepared and ready for this. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.